flexor pain is very common. Why? Hip flexor pain is common for a few reasons. It can be because the hip flexors do a lot of work for us and almost never get a break. And it can be because for most of us, we sit a lot. I'll talk about the sitting part first. Hip flexor pain from sitting can happen because when we sit for a long time, our hips are bent and that makes them shorter and tighter. That makes those muscles shorter and tighter. So naturally, when we go to stand up, they're going to be stretched out. This initial little jolt can be painful when we go from sitting to standing. Hip flexors do a lot of the work. We strengthen in the direction we go. We go forward like 98% of the time, and our hip flexors need to work to lift our leg up off the ground and bring us forward. We need to use those hip flexors every time we take a step, whether we're walking or running. We can get pain with the first few steps after getting up. So imagine after we've been sitting at our desk at work for 2 hours and go to get up to go to the bathroom. We're now waking the sleeping hip flexors that have been in a short and tight position for 2 hours. And now we're asking them to make us move. It's like someone coming in and waking you first thing in the morning and making you do some of your hardest work. You're not exactly ready for it. So how do I get rid of pain from sitting for so long? There are a few things you can do to get rid of hip pain from sitting so long. The first one is every 20 minutes, stand for 20 seconds. You can stretch and you can strengthen. So one way to get rid of the hip flexor pain from sitting too long is to not sit so long. So I do recommend every 20 minutes, stand for 20 seconds. This advice works for a multitude of reasons. And it's because after 20 minutes of sitting, we get into poor posture. So getting up will improve upper back and low back pain. And getting up every 20 minutes or so will make it so those hip flexors don't stay in a shortened and tight position for too long. Another way to get rid of the hip flexor pain is to stretch regularly. Stretching the hip flexors is good, but really it should be an all-encompassing whole body stretching routine. Stretch all of the major muscle groups regularly. I do have another post about that for you to check out. Another way to get rid of hip flexor pain is to strengthen your muscles regularly. I don't actually recommend strengthening the hip flexors much. When first trying to get rid of your hip flexor pain, you want to let those rest a little bit. Those hip flexors are already doing a lot of work. Remember, when I said that we strengthen in the direction we go forward almost all of the time. So to strengthen the other areas of the hip, to offload the hip flexors, give them some rest, go backward and sideways. Just walking backward and sideways at the kitchen counter until those muscles are tired are a good way to strengthen them. There are also other exercises lying down or on your hands and knees to strengthen the outside and backside of those hips. Okay, let's recap. Your hip flexors do a lot of work a lot of the time. They can be in pain from sitting too long and from doing the work to move you forward when you walk and run. To get rid of this pain, every 20 minutes, stand for 20 seconds so you don't sit too long. Stretch regularly, that's the whole body stretch routine, and strengthen other muscles besides the hip flexors to make them support the whole hips better. The easiest way to do it is by walking backward and sideways at the kitchen counter until the muscles are tired. For more tips and tricks, follow along.